do you have any recommendations for the buyers? The ones that want to go on their own, do you have any gut use or something they should think about if they don't want to have an agent?
If they don't want to have an agent, I would recommend that they, hire an attorney. They could hire an attorney to represent them. They may have a retainer fee to pay. They may or may not get the property they offer on. I would recommend a couple of books that they might want to read about how to operate. They can go online to Google, they can search it, but get some information and background about how to proceed in a real estate transaction in California. Because California is different than Texas, different than all other states. Everybody has their nuances from state to state when it comes to dealing in real estate. But I would get as educated as I could possibly get. Getting a real estate license is not going to educate you. Okay, needless to say, it's about passing a test, and I know that how that sounds, and I know that California Association of Realtors would not be happy with me right now, or the Department of Real Estate, but it's a fact. It is a true fact. It's about passing the test. It's about memorizing the questions, but it doesn't teach you knowledge. There's knowledge-based information on the web. There's knowledge-based information in books. And if you're going to hire an attorney, my advice to you is do your research and hire a real estate transactional lawyer. There's a big difference between that and a personal injury lawyer trying to represent you. Okay, not that either one of them is better person than the other, but the knowledge and the background that you would have from a real estate transactional standpoint. And there's places you can research that online.
And what about the ones that want to negotiate? Now that this is open and they want to have an agent, but they want to negotiate with them, how do they go about setting up that fee? Do you have any thoughts?
I think a buyer has to look at this, and the agent, more importantly, has to inform the buyer. Okay, if you're strictly talking about buyers now, they have to inform a buyer about what nuances are involved in this and what the possibilities are. For example, if you sign a BRBC, the form I referenced earlier, buyer representation agreement, and you ask for 3% from the buyer, but the seller is only offering 2% at some point because you submit the form with it, the proper form, you're only going to get 2%. Likewise, we just had an example. I was talking on the phone in my
Unless the buyer is willing to pay you, right?
Yeah, and I would not go back. I would not advise you to go back to the buyer and ask for more payment for the buyer. Some agents will, though, I promise you. I promise you that's going to happen. And I think that'll backfire on the agent. Continuing that thought process, I just had an example this morning where one of our agents filled out a BRBC with their client for 1.5%. She submitted an offer on behalf of her client, and the seller counteroffered back and offered 2.5% to the selling agent because there were multiple offers and they were all the same. But here's the upshot of that. She's only entitled to 1.5%. Even if the seller is willing to offer you 2.5%, if your BRBC, because that's the controlling document, only said 1.5%, that's all you can have. So she made a mistake, perhaps, maybe not. The buyer's happy, seller's happy. She's probably not real happy, but those are the nuances about our industry that have to be explained from agent to buyer. Whatever we put in the BRBC will be the standard by which a buyer's agent would be paid. And if it's less than what the seller's offering, you're stuck with it, so to speak. That's what you're going to be paid by the seller.